I'm glad to welcome here Tom Hollowell, who is the IOF Chief Executive Officer and General Secretary. And he prepared a very interesting panel discussion on commercial partnership for global development, and he will introduce our guests here. So, welcome, Tom.
Thank you, Lenka. Topic of commercial sponsorships is, I think, very interesting to discuss in this forum. I think, as we all know, having sponsorship and partnerships for orienteering is a key issue for us to be successful in the future, and maybe is something that we haven't done that very much of. But I'm very glad to have with me today representatives of three companies that we either are working with or we are trying to work with. And I'm hoping that we can give you some insights into the ideas behind commercial sponsoring, what is sponsoring and partnership thoughts today, and how can we as an orienteering community improve ourselves and work with trying to get more commercial sponsorships and partnerships. So with me, I have three very distinguished persons. First, from the Decathlon company, Gabor Vaz. And I'll let them introduce the company in a moment, but Gabor is working in the orienteering team of Decathlon. And Decathlon has its own orienteering team, and Gabor is working with the commercial parts in that. Then with me I also have Antti Jussi Tetenen from the Nokian Tires company, who many of you will know is our main sponsor in the IOF and our main sponsor for the World Orienteering Championships. But they are also now one of the main sponsors for World Orienteering Day. And we'll try to touch on that a bit. And then finally we have Thomas Glor, who's the CEO of OCAD, who many of you use their products probably in mapping. And Thomas is also a sponsor for us of World Orienteering Day. So I wanted to try to give some insights. But first of all, I'd like to ask each of you, Gabor, could you just say a few words about the Decathlon company?
Thank you. Thank you very much. And first of all, I'm so glad to be here, and I'm so happy that I can see so many passionate orienters today, and I could also discuss during the coffee break. Orienteering team at Decathlon, I think it's quite unique or quite special, because Decathlon is a big sports company. Maybe some of them you never heard about it, but we have more than 1,400 shops all over the world, from Australia until Brazil. And the World Orienteering team and also the team is why it's so unique, because it's quite new at Decathlon. Actually, it has been decided about 1 year ago that we recruit a team. A really small team is just 3-4 people, and we started to work on some specific needs of the orienters, some specific products of the orienters. And I hope that in the future you will be also satisfied with that. Our target is really that we recruited also orienters inside of the company, because it's a sport company, so we have a lot of athletes who are doing sports. Actually, also myself, I started orienteering 16 years ago in Hungary. So for me, it was also a pity before that when I could practice, I should take some products. Sometimes it was quite expensive, sometimes it was also difficult to find it. And our target from Decathlon to make orienteering accessible as much as possible in the future.
And Antti Jussi, could you say a few words about Nokian Tires?
Yes, my name is Antti Jussi Tähtinen, and I come from Nokian Tires, as Tom here explained. I run the marketing over there, and we have nothing to do with orienteering, right? We don't make orienteering equipment. We don't try to recruit you. Well, we can try to recruit you to work for us, but the main thing for us, why we are connected with orienteering, is that we see a perfect match in branding with orienteers and the International Orienteering Federation. So that's why we are involved in orienteering. And Nokian Tires itself, who were founded or started 120 years ago, And 1934 we invented the winter tire, and hopefully a lot of you use our products. But we also make wonderful summer products, and that's one reason why we are connected with orienteering.
Okay, and then Thomas, if you could continue with OCAD.
Thank you very much for inviting me for this panel discussion. My name is Thomas Glor, the Managing Director of OCAD Company. Hopefully all of you know this software for mapping. We as a company took over the heritage of Hans Steinecker, which died 2004, and we founded a shareholder company owned by Swiss orienteers, and now we are running this company since 13 years after the death of Hans Steinecker. We are located in Switzerland, and we are a real small company, have 8 employees, 3 software engineers, which are developing our software further, and then we have some web assistants, which help us to do the administrative things, and there we take always also some elite runners. At the moment, Andreas Keyboards is working for us, so we give back something of our revenues to support some orienteers. Yes.
Okay, thank you. You touched upon a little bit, all 3 of you, but one thing I think is interesting. I've had, of course, discussions with each of you in sponsoring context or partnering context, which I prefer to say. And one of the things is that it's clear that sponsoring and partnership is different today than it was in the past. Previously, Antius and I were talking about this earlier, that previously if you knew an orienteer who was at a high level in a company, you could ask him for some money for your event or for your team, whatever. Today, companies expect something back when they go into a partnership. And I guess that's my question, is to each of you. I mean, how do you see it? What does your company expect back from us as the orienteering community? And what do you see in orienteering that makes it interesting to work with us? Antius, maybe you can begin.
Well, like I said in the beginning, we really see orienteers as a very good, let's say, demographic group. Orienteers are interested in walking out or exercising in the nature, and they care for the nature and take care of themselves, and that's pretty much that, let's say, the core target group that we in Nokian Tires are trying to reach out. And to go further on that, we when we were looking for the sponsorship, we really dug out some demographics of different sports, and we found out that orienteers are also the most highly educated sports people there are, and like to drive SUV cars, and we like to sell tires to those cars. And anyway, for us it's a very good match overall.
And just to follow on that, because as we mentioned before, there's 2 kinds of sponsoring. One is that we work with you on world championships and events, but also World Orienteering Day, which when we talked about an agreement the last time, you brought it up, that we would like to be part of this thing called World Orienteering Day. Where do you see the context there?
Well, nowadays it's not enough for a company to produce good products, but you also have to do a lot of social responsibility or corporate responsibility programs and things like that. And we really wanted to get more deeply connected with orienteering, and wanted to promote the World Orienteering Day to our employees and also on social media to our followers.
Okay, thank you. And since we're talking about World Orienteering Day, I mean, Thomas Glor, you are a big part of World Orienteering Day, I think, with the method that we've worked with, giving some test licenses to people who are organizing. Where do you see that as far as then tying it to your commercial piece afterwards?
Yes, when we're negotiating the contract between IOF, we had a look where we can support IOF, and we figured out that World Orienteering Day would be the best for us because we can reach new customers, and also in new countries, because we are quite established in Scandinavian countries and in Europe, and we want to continue with our development of our software, and therefore we thought that this would be the best for us to participate on this World Orienteering Day. And there's another view on this partnership. Then we thought, what are the demands of those customers? There are new customers, they are not so used to make maps, and then we sit together in the whole team, and we decided, well, we have to have a tool which is very easily to create a base map so that they can start from scratch. And this we innovated in OCAD, so-called new map wizard. So you just have to look up a location on OpenStreetMap and push one button, and then within a couple of minutes you have a simple base map to create some kind of a school map. And so we had, for us as a company, we have an innovation part, and also we expect from IOF to communicate our assets of our company, that we have quick and good support and so on.
Okay, thank you. And Gabor, I think from Decathlon, you have an interesting business model as well, or an interesting idea about generating business. I'll be honest, Decathlon was in touch with us in the IOF. So you approached us, much as Nokian Tires did. The approach came from the company. And I was surprised to hear that Decathlon has an orienteering team of, I think, 5 people working with orienteering. Maybe you should tell a little bit about how do you view, I guess your idea is to develop a market. And how does Decathlon look at it?
First of all, you mentioned also partnership and sponsorship. Personally, I believe much more in partnership. And why? Because if you create a partnership, it means that the both parties should really active together. So that's why we also contacted IOF, because I realized that you already started, you already did a lot of good ideas and also make it realize, and that's why we also contacted several clubs and also several federations to work together. Because I'm totally sure that alone, from Decathlon, maybe OCAD, Nokian Tires, we cannot change, we cannot grow the market, but together, all of us, for sure, we can realize much more participants, much more athletes in the future. So our business model is really work together with this kind of interesting partners, and also work together to make the sport much more popular, much more visible, because I really believe that there are a lot of interesting, as you mentioned before, there are a lot of interesting and important values in the orienteering community. And I'm not just saying that because I'm also an orienter, but I could day by day realize some new feelings, some new interesting, and I think that's our responsibility, that we should share this kind of feelings with as many people as possible. So that is actually the business model of Decathlon, that together with the role players, the influencers of the market, we can for sure, because this is our strongest point, the products, so we can create some new products really dedicated for the orienter needs, and together with you we can really reach this target, 500,000 in the World Orienteering Day maybe next year, and why not 1 million in 3 years.
We agree. Yeah. It's an interesting piece that you've mentioning, because I spoke with Antti Jussi earlier that we're on a journey in the IOF and in orienteering, and I think exactly what you're saying is growing the market is something that we can help do. Orienteering is something that has a great potential, and by growing it, we also can work with in partnership with companies that can also take part of that growth. So global development, I think, is very important for the partnership concepts that we're talking about and the companies that we're working with. I did want to ask some other questions to you as well that might be interesting. That is, I know each of you also works with, let's say, other sports or other activities. They may be cultural activities or things, but what are some other sports doing that we could learn from? Who wants to start?
Maybe I can start with this topic. I'm only working part-time at OCAD Company. I'm also engaged by Swiss Hiking Federation in Switzerland. And our business model of this association is to get donation. And in the last 5 years, we increased this donation up to 5 million Swiss francs a year. And then you can ask, we have enough money to do our task. And then some members, or one member was asking us, why do we looking for sponsors? You don't need to have more money, 100,000 Swiss francs more compared to 6 million Swiss francs. It's maybe not worth to do. Maybe IOF would be happy.
You can share it with us. Yes.
To have 100,000 Swiss francs more. And our goal is to be more known in Switzerland because the signposts are very well known. The yellow one, it's up to 98%. But then if you ask the hikers, do you know where is responsible for those signposts? They do not know who is responsible. And we did some surveys and we got a percentage of 15% know our organization. So therefore, we decided, well, we need really good sponsors in our communication as a multiplier to give the message Swiss Hiking Federation is responsible for the signposts. And that was more worth for us to have such a good sponsor. We had Nivea, or at the moment we have Healthcare Association, Insurance, which are our sponsors. And I think that's the main thing for Swiss Hiking Federation, to have a multiplier, to give the assets of an organization to broader people.
Okay, thank you very much. And it would be interesting to understand what you would see as a multiplier for orienteering, but we'll get the others first here.
Actually, I have two dreams concerning orienteering, just to answer to your question. The first of all, then in the future, when someone asks me that what is my sport, and when I say orienteering, he told me, yes, I know it, what is it? So the first one, I think it's visibility. And the second one is accessibility. So my second dream is when I would like to practice orienteering, I can practice anytime and anywhere. I think this is one kind of development that also we should accelerate to make accessible concerning the places, concerning the maps, concerning the trainings, the events, as much as possible orienteering. So visibility and accessibility.
Thank you. Yep.
I think those are really good topics that you mentioned, and in Finland we have a fairly good situation that most people in Finland know what orienteering is. I don't think everybody else in the world know what it is, and maybe there's something to be done there, and that's a big task, I think. But it's an exciting sport, and the more you can make it look more exciting to the end consumers or the normal people who don't do orienteering, I think the better it will be visible.
Okay, thank you. So visibility and accessibility, I think, is two things. And I think visibility is about using also, again, this idea of I can't remember what you said, Thomas. I think it was a good word there of multiplier. Yes, of using visibility to multiply the effect of it, to become more known. And just one thing, I think we're getting close to the end here, and I wanted to leave for some questions from the audience if there are some. But just one last thing, and that is, you've now worked with orienteering, all of you in a way. What can we do better? What do we need to improve? What can we help you with, and what can we help ourselves with by helping you? Who wants to start?
I can start. I think globally the community should be a little bit much more open-minded. So there are a lot of interesting values, and I really like the familiar type of orienteering that everyone knows everywhere. And I think this is a really important values. But also today we could see plenty of new nations, new countries, sometimes with a little bit different kind of approach, different kind of need. And I think also here from Europe, when orienteering is much more developed, we should be a little bit open-minded for that kind of questions in the future and apply this kind of feelings and parallel also keep the values of orienting what we like. This is not, I think, not an easy strategical question. I think you know it well, but I think it's quite essential in the future.
Thank you.
Yeah, I could continue on that. That I really see that if you get to develop orienteering more into the direction that actually more people know about it, it will be beneficial for the sport itself. I think you are doing wonderful job in branding, and I think there are still some things to be done. I think it should be easy to understand that branding is not. It has nothing to do with democracy. It needs to be centrally led and dominated. And for example, if we look at the World Championships logos, they are nice, they are locally produced, but it would definitely help if you had one strict way of doing those in the future, because it helps in all the materials and getting one message through to the end consumers.
Thank you. Yes, I just remember one race. It was the women's relay in France by broadcasting and GPS tracking. So that was so exciting to watch that. And I think we should focus on that. So broadcasting and GPS tracking. So you get broader publicum to watch these events, and then you get also the possibility for visibility and multiplying the assets of the sponsors.
Okay, thank you. I did want to just open it up for some questions, if there's anyone who has some questions to the panel. And maybe, Lenka, if you could help me get a microphone out, if there's someone who has a question. No? No one? Okay. Then I would just like to conclude, I guess, by thanking all three of you. I think it's been valuable insight. Every time I meet the sponsors, I try to learn something new. And I've learned something new today as well. I'll make some notes afterwards about things that we can do better. And thank you very much for being here. Thank you and I hope that we can enjoy the event together this afternoon. So thank you very much.
I just have some remarks about the sponsors and the broadcasting. I know that it passed, but it just came through my head. About the broadcasting, we all know that most of the time we have to pay to watch the events. So I think it's not helping the athletes, it's not helping the sponsors, because it's just for the people that are doing orienteering. Like no one else is going to pay if it's not familiar with the sport. So we are not developing in that case. Even for the sponsors, they're not seen because it's just a small percentage of people. And we all know, like, even for the kids now, football is a familiar sport. So kids see Ronaldo in football and they want to be like Ronaldo. And now our kids, they don't have like someone to look to be like. So I think it's an important question for the development of the orienteering. Is there something that can be done, the sponsors to cover those costs, or the IOF itself? Thank you.
Yeah, it's this is a very key question. And there's no doubt that what we would like for the future is to have sponsors that can cover the costs of the live orienteering broadcasting. Unfortunately, that's not the case today. We need the income that is coming from within the orienteering community to be able to provide broadcast at all. We don't make money on the broadcasts, so we have to at this point in time take a payment. As you may know, we've tried some different models. We have tried with a contribution model. Unfortunately, it turns out that gave very little income. So we would very much like to provide it completely for free, and that is the target. That's the long-term goal. Unfortunately, we're not there yet, but that is the long-term target.
Okay, thank you.